All right, my friends, it seems like some of you still would just like to rather call me an AMD fanboy because of my decision last night, you know. That was, guys, the video I made last night was a hypothetical video. Basically, you know, if I was going to choose one, if I had to choose one right now, which would I take? And after the last, what has it been, like 21 months since I, you know, started maining AMD as my main GPU, there's a lot of things that I use and do on the AMD platform that I am just not to a point with Nvidia right now where I could translate all that or where I would feel comfortable. Like it would disrupt my workflow on the channel significantly to just transfer over to Nvidia right now at this current time. So yeah, honestly, that's like the biggest reason right there that I would pick the 9070 XT over the 5070 Ti. And there's more reasons. Obviously, I like a lot more of the adrenaline features when in terms of gaming than, you know, the Nvidia features. So that's why I'm grateful. I'm absolutely grateful that I have the opportunity now to sit here and go head to head with GPUs that are very similar from each competing brand. And I'll tell you guys, since I've come into this generation with a different mindset when it comes to, you know, Nvidia versus AMD, I just want to find the ultimate experience that, you know, I mean, I pretty much have lowered myself down to, you know, like the 5070 Ti or the 9070 XT from a 7900 XTX. So it's me trying to take a step backwards and be more in touch with, you know, at least some of the PC market as opposed to just being up there with the 1%ers, because at the end of the day, yeah, I could go out and get a 5090 or whatever and just throw it in there and call it a day and just be like, yeah, I got the best GPU on the market. But then what kind of content could I create that people are actually going to resonate with something like that? So yeah, right now I really do. I feel like the 9070 XT, if you can find it at a reasonable price, you know, in between, you know, $600 to $800, I would absolutely recommend that over the 5070 Ti. But if you can find a 5070 Ti, you know, at a reasonable price, you know, under $1,000, it's not like I wouldn't recommend that card at all, because I do actually enjoy the experience that I'm getting with the 5070 Ti. I mean, this is probably, to be completely honest with you, you know, I had like this negative attitude toward Nvidia, you know, not so much with the 40 series, but it was still kind of there. You know, I looked at the 5080 or the 4080 Super when I had that, and I was just like, oh man, I was kind of irritated, you know, with the 16 gigs of VRAM. I was kind of irritated with the $1,000 plus pricing on that for, you know, for what I actually got from that. I was kind of hesitant with the build quality of the AIB card, you know, like the gigabyte that I'd got versus, you know, what I was rocking with the 7900 XTX. So, I mean, there was just these like things. I mean, it was a good performing card and it did well, but I play a lot of open world games and I play a lot of Ubisoft games. So I was seeing on average better overall performance out of the 7900 XTX versus what I was getting from the 4080 Super. So I was just like, oh man, I don't have a second. If I would have just went out and got a second build when I had that 4080 Super, then things would be completely different right now. I would still probably be on both of those, the 7900 XTX and the 4080 Super. Like, I would still be at a point with PC gaming where I was still rocking those two cards, because whether we like to admit it or not, yes, the 9070 XT is a good card, and so is the 5070 Ti, but the 4080 Super and the 7900 XTX are still better overall GPUs than what we have right now. Yes, the new ones are more efficient. They're definitely on par almost with those other two experiences, but you are leaving some stuff on the table to go with these cards. Like both of these cards have dropped down to 256-bit bus, 16 gigs of VRAM, We do have better RT performance on both of these cards. We do actually have better overall, upscaling, performance from both of these cards, seeing as, one of them's got DLSS 4, the other one's got FSR 4. There are real reasons to actually upgrade to this newer generation of GPUs, even if it's just a side grade. Now, I know a lot of people ask me that all the time, like, hey, should I side grade? Should I get a 7900 XTX? Should I get the the 5070 Ti? Should I, I get a lot of questions about that, okay? And that's fair, most people are looking at that. They've got a 7900 XTX. They're looking at the new technology. They're like, okay, this is not an upgrade. This is more of a downgrade / side grade to go to a 9070 XT. And in some ways, in a lot of ways, so here's the thing, in a lot of ways, it really does still kind of just feel, but like you can feel a difference. Going to going from a 24 gigabyte 7900 XTX with a 384-bit bus that's actually just an absolute beast of a GPU that's been getting better over time with new updates, new driver updates and stuff. You look at that, and if FSR4, when it comes to the 7000 series GPUs, now I'm going to stand by that because I do believe it's going to happen. Once that becomes available on your 7900 XTX, that card is gonna be a very, very good card. Now, I don't have any idea when it's gonna come. I know that they're working on it. I don't know if it's gonna be the full-fledged FSR4 experience that we have right now, but it should be something similar, at least better than PSSR, maybe just under FSR4, what we have right now with the 9070 XT. But even that is going to add value to that 7900 XTX. I mean, you look at the GPU market right now, guys. You look at the GPU market right now, and you have to take these things. You have to take these things in stride, man. Like, the old days are gone. They're over. They're done. You either get with the program and it sucks. It sucks to say that, guys. Like, it sucks that I came into PC gaming now, because I don't have this old preconceived notion of these lower prices, of how things are supposed to be. I can only go from my personal experience. I am not gonna sit and parrot what other people say, because that's not my experience. That's not been my experience. My experience is with 30 series forward. 30 series forward. Like, I am accustomed at this point to paying the prices that these guys are asking for these GPUs. And I'm gonna give it to you straight, like I always have on this channel. I do not think that under $1,000, up to $1,000 at the 5070 Ti is overpriced. I do not think that up to, I would, this is me, okay? Like, other people probably a little bit different, they see AMD as like a wish version, or like a, is like a clearance side or something, they don't feel like that. But I feel like the 9070 XT, at least the two models that I got, that Oris and the XTX or XFX Magnetic Air, both of these cards are easily on par with my 5070 Ti in terms of like build quality, price. They're actually significantly better than my Prime. Both of those cards are actually significantly better, build quality and everything. So I absolutely, and this is me, okay? I paid $939 for the Asus, for the 5070 Ti Asus. I would have paid the exact same much for either one of those two cards and been like, yeah, why would I question that? See, like, I don't have the same, like, I don't put Nvidia on a pedestal. And I don't think that AMD is a lesser experience than what I get from Nvidia. And sometimes you just kind of need somebody to come in from the outside with outside eyes and look at something like this. And, look, I do give AMD the win a lot, just because there's things about the AMD experience that make it a lot more user friendly, okay? And then there's things about Nvidia that obviously could make it worth more money. Could definitely make it worth more money. If you're using it for work or for other types of deals, yeah, obviously there's things that you could put a higher premium on that. But where we sit right now, let this sink in. Where we sit right now, both Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5, PlayStation 5 Pro are all run on a 256-bit bus. They both have 16 gigs of split memory. So, I mean, obviously your card, as long as it's got 16 gigs of RAM or whatever, should be sufficient for games this generation. And I think AMD and Nvidia both see that. Why do you think that we've got cards from Nvidia like that are 12 to 16 gigs of VRAM? We're at a point right now where both of these GPUs are definitely significantly better than PlayStation 5. And obviously I've got a PS5 Pro. We're going to be doing some comparisons for those. I just don't have a lot of time right now, guys. We've been doing some incredible things at work and stuff, so that's taken up a lot of my brain power and stuff like that. But we're looking at two GPUs, okay, that are significantly better than the consoles by far. I mean, they absolutely deliver an enjoyable experience on these newer games. And I don't think that Nvidia and AMD are really going after that enthusiast market anymore. I don't think they're going after the people that it's weird. Like it just feels like there's been like this massive shift in PC gaming to where people just want that plug and play experience. Like there's new gamers like me that are coming from console over to PC, and we just want that plug and play experience. We're not, like most of us, they're marketing these features like frame generation and upscaling and stuff, and they're so effective at doing that. They're so effective. Like you can't even talk about you can't even talk about raw performance of GPUs anymore without getting completely run over in the comment section when people are like, no, man, DLSS. Like, no, I'm not even joking. Like every single time you hear anybody compare AMD to Nvidia, they will always tell you to get Nvidia because of DLSS or freaking, or ray tracing or something. You know what I mean? Like we've went from, like the whole thing has changed. The narrative has changed from like raw performance and rasterized power and all of that stuff to like literally AMD and Nvidia chasing software features to bring you upgrades, generational upgrades over your previous, performance from your older GPUs. It's literally like the pendulum has the switch is flipped. I mean, we hear that 80% of Nvidia users are using DLSS. And, somebody made this point the other day in a video when I said that, and they were saying that, hey man, it's automatically turned on or enabled. That's true. I have tested that. I have looked. If you like auto do thumb, like if you get into a game, like both FSR and DLSS are automatically enabled right when you jump in there. When I first got into Assassin's Creed, all of that stuff was enabled, and it was like, okay, we're going to adjust the settings to give you a 60 FPS experience. And so you get in there and you start playing it, and you're like, oh, okay, this is actually pretty good. And so when I look at that, and people are like, I think somebody was giving me a hard time about not wanting to show frame rate counters, or not. It's not that I don't want to show frame rate counters. It's like when I'm covering a game to cover the game, I'll do my initial testing and show you that frame rate counter, but I don't play, I don't play my games with a frame rate counter on, so I don't record that footage. Like when I'm sitting down and I just, and I jump into AC or something like that, I'm recording all of my footage, so I'm not actively like showing that as I'm going through the game. So it really does kind of like defeat the purpose of me showing a game with trying to show the frame rate counter, because I'm not recording that. I don't use a frame rate counters while I play my games. And it's something that I've had to do recently, is to fully to fully grasp the experience, okay, like the feeling of it, the visuals, stuff like that, I need to get rid of the frame rate counter, because that there is just a numeric value that absolutely means nothing. That just shows you a frame rate, and then for some reason that just gets seared into your mind. Like, I don't really necessarily care about that. What I care about the most is the absolute gameplay for how that plays. And trust me guys, me turning off the frame rate counter to play these games on both Nvidia and AMD, that has been a significant boost to like being able to actually utilize both of them and not have, like, I can still see like a distinct difference, you know, between like DLSS 4 or, you know, like FSR 3 or something like that. Like, I can still see. So here's the thing, it's like now I can see a difference, and now I get to decide, you know, okay, what looks the best? You know, when I'm doing like a three-way, like looking at like PlayStation 5 Pro versus 9070 XT versus 5070 Ti, I get to see the distinct visual image quality of how these games look across all my different monitors and stuff. So I'm like looking at it and I'm like, okay, that there is very, very nice. And then, you know, obviously you get to feel it too, you know, like when you're playing the game, you're running around and like you can clearly feel how that game feels. Does it feel smooth? Does it feel good? Like, am I able to retain information? Am I getting a good, you know, image quality with the movements? Am I seeing a lot of ghosting, a lot of blurring, a lot of smearing and stuff like that? Like, it's easier to concentrate on those things without the frame rate counter on there. So yeah, I don't necessarily think the frame rate counter is relevant. I do it first during the beginning of a GPU, or like when I first turn on a game, to kind of gauge, you know, like how is it running, you know, so that I can be like, okay, this is how it's running without frame generation, this is how it's running with frame generation, kind of give you guys a baseline, you know, of what to expect, and put those videos out, and then go back into playing the game on whichever one just feels the best, or, you know, jumping around. Well, that's what I've been doing with AC Shadows, is like, yesterday was the AMD day, today's going to be the Nvidia day for playing it, the day before that was the PlayStation 5 Pro. I was going to upload that footage from that, but unfortunately something was wrong with the sound. Like, it didn't record the sound right, so I was like, dang it, do I upload this video? But yeah, I don't know. So that's just what I'm saying, guys. Like, you guys give me a hard time about being an AMD fanboy, but there's just reasons to why it makes sense for me to, like, it makes sense for me, like, at this current point in this generation, to where it's like, yeah, I am still 100% like fully utilizing AMD experience more for the content creation side of the channel, and for, you know, like the other features and stuff, you know, that I get from, you know, the specific features that I get from AMD, like, you know, the AMD's fluid motion frames, or being able to adjust my color settings easier. You know, having the ability to check out FSR 4, stuff like that. Yeah, there's a lot more reasons to where it's like, if I had to choose one right now, absolutely, I would take the 9070 XT. But I also am like really enjoying this 5070 Ti, to the point where, like, in 6 months, 3 months, you know, in a couple months, or maybe every month, I'll come back and, you know, we'll talk about that, because I do intend going forward to play everything basically on 9070 XT, 5070 Ti, and PS5 Pro, if I can get a hold of a, you know, of a PlayStation copy of a game that I'm testing out or something. So yeah, guys, if you like this content, do not forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.